and welcome to the first episodes of Shades of Gay. As a toast, I'm sat here drinking a little bit of champagne to say well done to us for coming together to put on this show for queer people by queer people. The idea behind Shades of Gay, it's going to be a bit of news, some views, and a touch of shade. We're going to chat, we're going to see how our week's been, we're going to introduce a couple of topics and talk about them, and towards the end we're going to interview our special guest. You can see right now from my lovely view, I'm sat in the middle of south of nowhere. I'm not telling you where because I don't reveal that kind of information. Enjoying the sun with my champagne. I have a manservant who's probably going to bring me some lunch at some point, strawberries dipped in chocolate, that kind of thing. Yummy, yummy. But joining me on the banquette this evening and every evening is the lovely Jay Molyneux, the absolutely gorgeous Therese Cahill, and the stunningly beautiful Susan McGrady. As well, joining us at the end is the very handsome and delectable Owen Hanley, who's here to talk to us about Pride and all things to do with Winter Pride coming up later on this year. So, Shades of Gay. This is a new venture between the four of us, and every week we'll have a guest on. Every week, every episode, we'll have a guest on. But what we're going to do is we're going to introduce topics, things that are important to us that might be important to you, and we'll have a bit of a chat about it. We're each going to have our own opinions. It doesn't mean we'll agree, but that's a good thing, because how boring would life be if we all agreed with the same thing? Before we get on to the topics, let's find out how our week's been. Jay, how have things been with you this week?
Hello, good, thank you, It's been a good week. Doing what I do best, which is teaching dance classes. That's what I do for a living. Obviously, with the way things are now, it's a little bit more difficult. Most of our classes are restricted to online, so like ourselves, zooming away. But it's good. I recently became a new dog daddy. So looking after little Lola, that's taken up a lot of my time, and getting up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning is not so much fun. But I'm here at home in the boudoir, and you can see behind me my wall of fame of all the different shows and stuff that I've been involved in, and I'm very excited to get going with Shades of Gay. So thank you.
Susan, how's your week been?
Utter shite, to be honest. I'd love to say it was wonderful. I had my first COVID test this week, which, do you know what? It wasn't as unpleasant as I thought it would be. And I actually found it tickled, but I'm very bizarre in things like that. I became unwell at the beginning of the week and was coughing a lot and blah, blah, blah. And so my GP, being very careful, sent me for the COVID test. So we had a couple of days here where we were stuck indoors, me and the boys, not able to leave the house. So yeah, it kind of really sucked, to be honest. But the COVID test came back negative, so I'm allowed out again into the public.
I had a COVID test back in June, and I knew the person that was doing it. And I'm pretty sure when it came to doing the nose one, she was actually digging. I'm sure she was mining for something, because I felt that thing come out my backside as she was shoving it up my nose. Yeah, my second one was not too bad, but no.
Oh, because you need two, because you're Rob, right? Mama needs two, one in each nostril, just to be sure, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, I need to add to that. When I joined the queue, the very handsome army man who I first met, and I rolled down my window and he said, "Have you had one of these done before?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Don't worry, you'll be fine. There's people ahead of you who have had 5 or 6 of them." And I just thought, lucky them. How are they seeing that many people?
People will do anything for free stuff. People will do anything to get something for nothing. That's what it is. Just getting something for nothing. That's all.
Yeah, you see, that kind of bugs me. If they're being sent for that many tests, then they're not really adhering to the guidelines and the restrictions. So
I guess they could be healthcare, or they could be working in shops, or
I think the more tests you have, the further down they should go. That'd stop you having them. Therese, how has your week been?
Oh, my week was so exciting. I got a flu shot, not the vaccine. I got a flu shot, and it was free. Woohoo!
Yes.
It pays to be at
free
risk.
Shit.
But it's sore. And then, because there was a good little soldier. I got this as well. I got a new unicorn.
Another one
Yeah,
to add to
another
the
one.
family.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to put this one. This is fluffy corn. Um, Other than that, the weeks just roll into one. I only really know what day it is when I have to pick my child up from school. I'm like, oh wait, it's Wednesday, half day. Or I wake sometimes up on a Sunday and I'll be like, oh, late for school. Oh no, that's grand. That's my life. The school run. I'm basically a cat that does the school run. That's me.
At least you have a bit of routine.
Yeah, gets me out of the house.
Yeah.
That's
Owen,
true.
how was your week?
My week's been good. I've been very busy. Turned out to be a very busy week for myself across everything that I do. And the weather has been surprisingly good here, so I've been able to get out and about. I suppose talking about routine, I feel like every day is a bit of a routine now between the Zooms and the daily walk just to get out of the house. But I'm finding lockdown 2 far better than I found lockdown 1, on a personal level. So I'm doing okay.
Lockdown
Doing okay.
2.0.
Yeah.
Yes, hopefully the last one.
Where
Who
are
knows?
where are you calling from? I feel like we're on the Eurovision. Here are the results from the.
Yes,
Where
guten
are you calling?
Tag. I am calling from Galway City.
Oh, you're in Galway City. Okay, perfect.
Yes,
I
yes.
think-
So nowhere better to be.
I think
Absolutely.
we've learned from the first lockdown how to make the best of the situation. So when the second one came in, we kind of knew what we had to do and where we could go, and learning from that. My husband looked out the window this morning and said, "Oh, look, it's going to be ever such a lovely day." And I thought, "Oh, great, he's going to suggest we go for a walk or we do something." And he went, "I'll get the guttering done." And he spent the afternoon clearing the guttering out.
Oh, gosh. The funniest thing about that story is I can't imagine your husband going, "Oh, it looked like it's going to be a wonderful day."
Maybe not with that accent, no, but that is the kind of thing that he would say.
Turns out Brad is actually going to be an extra in The Crown.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
And when you say clean the guttering, that's not a metaphor.
No,
Are
You've lovely clean guttering.
not yet, but a couple of more of these and we'll see how that goes.
Hey,
It's too early, guys. Too early.
you might do your decking.
Are we past the watershed? Are we past the watershed? So we go.
Yeah. This is the family show. Jay, what's your topic this evening? What are we talking about?
So for today's topic, I wanted to discuss, in the words of Miss Ross, I'm coming out. And I wanted to kind of quickly chat about the differences between coming out when you came out, whenever that was personally, to the differences now in 2020. Is it, or do we think it's easier? Do we think it's easier because it's more accepted than it was whenever you came out? So I suppose I'll start I came out in the year 2000. I was 18. I was doing my leaving cert, and I came out to my family and just very, very close friends. I didn't come out in school or anything like that. And just for me, it was a very nerve-wracking experience, but thankfully it wasn't a scary experience because I was very lucky. I am very lucky to have a very supportive and loving and kind, caring family. So I was never afraid about coming out. It was more nerve-wracking and nervous for me. But I'm just interested to see, because I think, thankfully, in 2020, it seems to be a lot easier for the younger generations, and I feel so old now, the younger generations, to be able to come out and to express themselves and to express who they are, regardless of labels or anything like that. And I just think it's so wonderful, because I have 10 nieces and nephews, five each, 5 nieces, 5 nephews, and they don't bat an eyelid at stuff like that anymore, because it's just like, that's what it is. So yeah, I'm just interested to see what you guys think, and maybe a little bit about your coming out stories. And do you wish maybe that it was 2020 for you to come out? Therese, go for it.
Wow. Mine was a bit of a right, because I realized very young, I liked the ladies, but I was still like, going with the fellas, and But then I decided, right, that's it. I'm just staying, staying with fish. And but then I was still going like, then I was going, but I do like a bit of cock now, So I was a bit kind of, I didn't know what bisexual was, right? This is way back. They didn't have it on the cave paintings, right? Um, and but I remember when I realized, okay, yeah, I am, as we'd say now, LGBT plus. But we back then we just said gay. Gay covered everything, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going away with my ma to Galway, actually of all places.
Hey,
Oh,
can't get gayer
hey.
than Galway.
Nope.
Well, I thought this is the time. This is the time. I need to tell my mother, right? And we were staying in this hostel near the bus station. I think it's still there. So there was a telly room in this hostel, and I was building up to tell my mum, and there was two girls staying in. They were in the telly room, and I just came in. How is blah blah blah, and they were sitting there watching the telly. We were waiting for Prisoner to come on, and then they left, and my mum went. They were holding hands. I hadn't even noticed. I hadn't, and I said, "Oh, were they?" I think they're, and she did that, that nine million,
Yeah, yeah,
nine,
yeah.
the only two of us in the room, 9 millions. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna tell you. And I suppose I never really came out to it. I didn't think it became obvious. But I suppose I came out to my friends and they were like, oh, that's grand. And like I would describe myself now as pansexual. And as I said to someone before, that means I'm capable of being attracted to somebody regardless of their gender or gender identity. But I still wouldn't fuck you.
Susan, how was the coming out kind of experience for you?
I never came out in my growing up. It was just known. It is known. It is known that she fancies Angelina Jolie. It is known that she likes men as much as women because of her behavior and her talk. And it was actually Rob and I were in the car together. Oh gosh, it must be 4 years ago now, is it?
Yeah.
Traveling back, we both had a thing in Dublin, and we carpooled, and we were traveling back, and we were chatting away about all sorts of stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm bisexual, but I've never had to come out. And he said, you just did. Is that what that is?
Oh my God, is that what coming out feels like? Wow.
It didn't hurt.
But I actually didn't know, because I grew up as such a misfit in so many ways that I think that nothing ever surprised anybody about me. And that it was just the people who accepted me, I kept in my life. The people who didn't accept me, I didn't keep in my life. And
yeah,
they all just accepted me. It wasn't, I remember then afterwards, after that conversation with Rob, I was walking the prom with two of my best friends, and I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. And I was like, girls, do you know what? I think I might be bisexual. And the two of them started roaring, laughing, going,
you think?
we know. And I was like, oh, cool, sound. So
I'm on a roll.
Yeah. The only time coming out, and I felt bad because I did it in such a blasé way, was with my own parents, and we were on holidays together, and in the middle of a conversation about something completely different, I went, oh yeah, well that's because I'm bisexual. And then I went walking out to the other room to pour my tea or to pour my coffee, and I came back in and they were like, sorry? And I was like, oh yeah, you know that. And they were like, not sure we did.
We do now.
Yeah, exactly.
Owen, how was your coming out?
So I guess the first time I came out would be back in 2012-ish, I think, when I first started to tell people, but it was truly just 4 people over the course of 6 months. And I went to an all boys school, so all my friends were boys. After weeks of kind of building it up in my own head, it was just kind of okay. And that was like all I got out of it. So I kind of decided after that, it's a lot of stress, the process of coming out, and it wasn't worth it. So I decided while I was in secondary school, I didn't need to tell people if I didn't feel the need to tell people. And I wouldn't consider myself closeted, but I was like, I don't believe in coming out. I don't believe in going through that process. It's not for me. Or at the very least, when it's not movie style, when people don't embrace you and say, "Oh, I love you no matter what,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't do that. It feels a bit of a bother, doesn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
there is that fear, isn't there? I mean, you know, that fear of, will I be okay? Will I be accepted? Are my family, you know what I mean? And it's a very difficult thing to explain to people, that feeling, if you've not gone through it, you just don't know it, you know. So I don't
Yeah,
like get that on. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not a lot of parallels to what else feels kind of a lot like that. But I unfortunately never had a bad experience. It was just anticlimactic, if anything. But then in 2019, I became a bit of a public figure when I ran for election.
Just a little.
Um, and so the papers kind of got the word out just a little bit. So a lot of people found out through the papers, which is an interesting way of coming out. It's efficient. I'll tell you that.
So we're flying through time now, so I'm going to interrupt and go to a different topic. Susan, let's have yours.
My topic is 16-year-old you was an asshole. True or false?
Well, 100% true. 16-year-old me was a complete and utter nightmare to my parents, to my friends, to everybody. And I would say who I was at 16 lasted all the way up until I was 21. I was an absolutely horrible person. And I have no problem admitting it. I am over the moon that I've changed, because I know I have. I know there are some people out there that would say I haven't, but I know I have, which is the important thing. I was an absolute nightmare at 16. And to anybody that's watching who knew me when I was 16, who I haven't spoken to since, I wholeheartedly apologize.
Jay?
In my personal opinion, I don't think 16-year-old me was an asshole. No. 26-year-old me, yes. 36-year-old me, yes. 16-year-old, no. I was too I don't know, I was just too concerned about other things. So, you know, I didn't have like a huge circle of friends or anything, and I hung out with mainly all girls, and it was just, you know, hanging with the girls, like. But so no, I don't think so. I mean, there might be people out there who will disagree, and if you do, feel free to contact us, comment, send
Tell
us an
us,
email.
why was Jay an asshole?
How I was an asshole, and you know, we can hash that out. But no, honestly, I don't think I was. I hope I really don't. I hope I wasn't. So.
Therese, 16-year-old you.
At home, not at all, because my mother would have killed me. So I was extremely goody two shoes at home, for fear of death. Outside, I was yes, at the time I was a vegan. I was, you know, again, really socially responsible, really. When I say political, I don't mean like, you know, I knew everything that was going on in the news, but like certainly things that were like, you know, anti-nuclear and all that kind of. You're getting an image now, right? But I didn't ram it down people's throats. I was just kind of like quietly, you know, well, I'm not going to eat animals.
I don't think 16-year-old me was an asshole beyond being a 16-year-old teenage boy who, at least Susan here, is well aware what they could be like. Um, so I don't think I was an asshole. I think kind of like Therese, I mean, I wasn't a vegan or anything, but I didn't drink. I still don't drink. I don't smoke. And, you know, gay. So when you're kind of on the out group, you end up on the receiving end more than you're on the giving end. And I think that gives you a different perspective. And I like to think I'm an empathetic person. So if all the rest of my faults, I try not to be mean, but if it's sounding from what other people are saying, my 30s will be a reckoning.
Susan, please God say you were an asshole, because so far it's only me that appears to have been an asshole.
Age 13 asshole, 14 asshole, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, all asshole. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, dead sound. Lovely.
Marvelous.
30 to 43.
She's still going.
Utter asshole. So the period in there when I wasn't an asshole is when I was a mum, when my kids were small. And I was busy.
Nice.
I was nurturing, and I had oxytocin and hormones and loving and taking care. Now, actually, there are a few people out there who rubbed me up the wrong way, who will say that one was an asshole. But that was because, that was me being an asshole because they were an asshole first.
Yes, they started.
But almost all of my life I've been an asshole. 16, I definitely was. My parents.
That's me and you then. That's me and you.
We're assholes.
Yeah.
I bet you the assholes get more of what they want, though.
Bitches get shit done.
Okay, let's move on to our final topic, and we'll make this one brief so that we've got plenty of time to chat to Owen. Therese!
The word straight, when it is used predominantly, now informally, I should say, to heterosexual people. Webster's dictionary defines it, the adjective anyway, without a bend, angle, or curve, not curved, direct, right? Now, I have an issue with that, the usage of the word straight. I'm doing my best to eradicate it, and I would rather say heteros, right, than say straight, because to me, when I hear the word straight, I hear right. There's an implication with the word straight, because if you read the definition, without a bend, and what were gay people, what have we been referred to, particularly men? Bender, right?
Yeah.
Not just a character from Futurama. So that was used as a derogatory term, right? It still is. So the implication is when you say someone is straight, it's like that they're not bent. Also, we use the word straight when we say, oh, let me be straight with you, or, well, straight up, and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I don't know, whenever I hear people saying straight, it just, I don't know, what do you guys think? Does it bother you, or does it wash over you?
The point that you made that really hit home for me is the fact that you say the word straight is associated with something being correct.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's really hit for me, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And because I've never really thought about it. I use the word, I use it a lot more than I would use heterosexual.
Yeah.
But definitely thinking about it now, I'm like, that's definitely something that I need to kind of probably check. And I'm not, I don't know, I suppose I'd ask a few straight friends and see what they think.
Yeah, I don't even mean like our community, the LGBTQ community, to stop saying it. I guess what it is it goes back to the whole come in so you don't have to come out, right? Which is a wonderful concept and idea. And I hope that's the way we're moving as a human race, right? But I guess it's when it probably impacts me more when straight people say, and there you go, I've just done it. Oh, I'm straight.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, isn't that well for you that gets to say, I'm right, you're wrong?
I mean, I haven't thought about it until you said it there, so I don't think I have anything that elaborate to say. I suppose the point about it being associated with the correct position, I think that does resonate, and I'd be interested to see if that's actually what the original terminology was meant to imply. Like, who even came up with the term? Was it straight people?
I love words. I'm a huge word nerd. I thought what Owen said was very interesting in terms of, or what I'd like to look at the history of it. The word straight to me, and I'm sorry to all the straights watching, but straight to me sounds pretty dull. To be honest, it's like straight to me, not the word, not the sexuality or but the word is like, I'm straight. I'm just straight. I'm vanilla. I'm this. There's nothing unusual about me. And as someone who has everything unusual about her, I don't think even when I was in a straight appearing marriage, straight was never something that sat with me. But that's not what I wanted to say. What I did want to say was a friend of mine ran for election. The friend of mine's surname is Pender. When he was running for election, somebody went to one of his posters and wrote, now it happens that this friend of mine happens to be a gay man, right? Mm-hmm. So during the election, somebody went to my friend Mr. Pender's poster and wrote, "You're gay." And he did the funniest post in the world saying, all you had to do was turn the P to a B. So I believe so strongly in the ownership of words. If there's a word that is used against you, and it's the same, there's a whole thing that I could do about terminology used in a previous campaign. But if somebody calls you a thing, my belief is take it, own it, turn it round, bring it and call me a name, that's fine. I'm going to own it and I'm going to show you what that actually means.
My head of year in my secondary school, the first year, the head of year was Mr. Lunt. Yeah.
Poor Mr. Lunt.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so those have been our topics. We're now going to move on and meet our guest properly. Please welcome Owen Hanley. Owen is currently the chairperson of Galway Pride and here to talk to us about Pride. Owen, you're very welcome. Tell us, how did you get involved in Pride?
I got involved in Pride 2 years ago, primarily because one of my friends was already on Pride and they were essentially like, please help me, please help me. And suppose, from either my involvement over the past few years in Galway Pride or now all the Prides are trying to coordinate more together and network better. I think a lot of what we spend our time doing as members of Pride is asking other people to get involved with Pride, because it's something we do in our spare time, and it's a lot of work, but it's worth the work, but it's a lot of work, and so there's always that need for new people. So I was indoctrinated and grabbed, and so I was pulled in by an existing person who was involved.
So obviously with the COVID and with lockdown restrictions, Pride's events around the country and around the world were very much curtailed this year. How did Galway Pride cope with that and the restrictions that were in place?
Yeah, so I mean, it's tough for any community organization to adapt to these things on the fly. And I can't imagine what would have happened if this was like 5 years ago. Things would have been so differently. But fortunately, we're all kind of digitally competent. We all have more access to these technologies. So Zoom became our new LGBT resource center, in the fact that it became the primary way in which we were connecting with people. And we tried to replicate that sense of social cohesion, just through a Facebook group where people could actually communicate and talk and just say things. You can't always say things in Zoom calls. It's quite formal and you kind of wait around. There's always those awkward bits at the beginning and you don't want to interrupt anyone or talk over anyone because there's not the same social cues. So you have to give other opportunities for people to talk with each other. But we were a bit cheeky and we had a couple of physical events as well. And that was during a time of less restrictions. And I suppose part of the motivation behind us ensuring that absolutely most of our events are online, because that's the reality we face. And in fact, there's lots of ways in which that's more accessible for some people. For some people, that isn't more accessible. Ireland doesn't have the greatest digital literacy in the world. But for others, it does allow them, especially over distances, to attend your events. But it's important to have that physical presence. I felt like over the past summer, without Prides, I don't know if it was actual or if it was real, but there was this growing sense of like that small minority who are very loud and full of hatred. It felt like they were growing, and I don't know if they were or not, but it felt like Pride left an absence by not physically demanding the space. And I think that's like a fundamental part of Pride, is saying, no, this is our space and we're demanding visibility and we're here and you can't deny that.
Absolutely.
So we really wanted to make sure we had a couple of physical events, and the 5 kilometer rule was still in place, I believe, at that time. So it was only Galway folks, but that's all right. We love to service our local community first and foremost.
I have to
So
say,
it was an interesting time to react and change.
I attended one of your physical events, and I have to say, I think it was very, very well done. I was there when you were marking the floor out with the 2 meter gaps, and people were actively policing where people were standing. And I think that was the right way to do it. You allowed a physical event to go on under the absolute restrictions that were in place at the time. So well done to yourself from that. One of the questions that often gets asked of me, and I would like your opinion on this, is there still a need for Pride?
Yeah, so I suppose, I mean, there absolutely is. And I think something I think a lot about in Pride is parts of our community have had their rights vindicated, not fully, but in certain aspects. We have marriage equality, we have the Gender Recognition Act. It's kind of like a halfway step when it comes to adoption. But there's been progress, but in the first instance, there's been progress because of Pride and organizations and events like that. So to say just because we got some of the way there and that now Pride is no longer needed, or in fact that because the political system finally caught up after decades, that we can somehow trust the political system. The LGBT community will never trust the political system to look after them, because the political system isn't made of us, and it'll never be made of us, because that's how being a minority works. So we will always have to lobby and demand our rights in one way or another. And I think there's always a need for protest, but I think particularly the way I think of it, like I'm a gay man. I prefer the term queer in terms of the overlap between my sexuality and my gender. But as a gay man, I have a lot of privilege. I'm a white settled gay man. And I think my responsibility is to use whatever privilege that I have to help members of the community who are from a traveler background, members of the community who are trans, members of the community who are people of color, who don't have their rights. And I think that's Pride offers the opportunity for all of us to get together and check in on each other, because we don't always kind of check in with each other. We don't always, like, when's the last time non-intersex people went to an intersex event? It doesn't always happen, but Pride offers that opportunity for all of us to check in on each other and see where we are lacking. And it's always, human rights are so fundamental, and we can't take them for granted. So I think Pride offers that opportunity for us to get together, organize, and continue the struggle.
Fair play, thank you.
And to learn.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I
and
just
to
want to
learn,
throw
yeah.
in there, and to learn, because 90% of what I've learned over the last couple of years is from being involved in a Pride. And all of the things that I know, and I still don't know everything, I don't think I ever will, but my understanding of other people's situation, my understanding of how people identify, my understanding of pronouns, for heaven's sakes, because I'm 43, we didn't have those back in the day. But all of these things, it's such a, to have a safe space to learn, I think. And actually it was Owen who originally sent me the message when I said I was bored, what would I do next after an election, said, what about the Pride Committee? And I went, So
okay, I'm going to come to each of you now with one question, and with the same question rather, and I just want one word answer. And I'm going to start with our guest, Owen. Owen, what does Pride mean to you? One word.
Community.
Jay.
Love.
Therese.
Acceptance. I was going to say love, but acceptance as well.
Susan.
Fuck you, I can use as many words as I like. Community, love, learning.
Oh, if we can use many words, protest as well. So
Protest was going to be mine. Okay, to end, Owen, tell us about Winter Pride and what's coming up.
Yes, so Galway Pride had our first Winter Pride last year, and we thought, this year hasn't been great, so we might as well give people something to look forward to in some of the darker months. So we have, a whole season of Pride. So we have events across the month of December, starting December 2nd or 3rd, I believe. And we have we have social spaces for trans and non-binary people, for LGBT parents to gather and talk to each other. We have entertainment events with drag queens, performers, local entertainers. We have a table quiz hosted by a Rob Partridge, which will, I have no doubt, be full of banter and wittiness. We have panels, whether it be about intersex people, be about trans liberation and feminism, be it about protests in pandemic times. And we have stuff for the Gael goers, and we kind of have just laid back social events where you can have a hot chocolate, gather, do some crafts, do some mocktails, cocktails, whatever you want. We know Christmas can be a tough time in the best of times. It can be a struggle, and this ain't them. So it's going to be tough. And we kind of wanted to make sure that if it's the lead up to Christmas that makes you anxious, the week of Christmas, or the kind of the bit after, that there's something there for you to go to when you need it. And hopefully, we're hopeful that people will, take that opportunity, because it's so easy to kind of lock ourselves away or be in social bubbles that don't actually give us anything.
Yeah.
So it's trying to offer a quality space where people can engage with.
Thank you very much for that. Owen, where can people find out more about Galway Pride, about the Winter Pride?
You can get us on Facebook at Galway Pride, or Twitter, Galway Pride, and Instagram, Galway Pride. We're not on TikTok yet.
Marvel, we're on TikTok.
Yeah.
Everybody go and follow us on TikTok. Owen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us on this, our very first episode. I have finally finished my drink, so I need to go and get more. It has been an absolute delight to sit here on the banquette with my fabulous guests, and we will see you on our next episode. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye. Bye.